What's up, everyone? If you're seeing this, that means I've probably been banned. That's right. Cancel culture has finally come for me. Oh my God, it's over. It's over. The free speech warriors. Where are you now? They've taken me out, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. I'm done. A couple days ago, I had a conversation where I was responding to the Republican House of Representatives Speaker, and I said some things. Let's take a look at what I said. Libs of TikTok, of course, posted about it. Here's what Libs of TikTok claimed I was saying. Hasan Piker just called for violence against a sitting U.S. senator. If you cared about Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott at FBI. This got 17,000 likes. This was on February 28th. Let's take a look at this clip really quickly.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid, just in fraud alone. No.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of...
You can see how that sounds bad, though. You would kill Rick Scott is what he's saying. So this is a typical... reminds me of the Elon Musk Nazi salute thing. If Hasan's going to call out Elon Musk, call him a Nazi, then Hasan has to be okay with this. Like, if you're going to say, well, kill Rick Scott, obviously, well, it's obvious. Maybe you didn't mean it in that way, but it comes across. So people are going to assume you're calling for murder. You're calling for assassination. You can't have it both ways. You can't claim Elon Musk is a Nazi, and then when people call you a person who's calling for murder, like, you just can't have it both ways, Hasan. You got to understand that if you're going to say something, then you have to be ready to cop it back when it hits you, and it's hit you right now, and now you're banned from Twitch.
Florida Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him a prominent part of the Republican Party. Now, that seems like a wild thing to say. Oh my God. Is this person calling for the death of a U.S. senator? Of course not. I was not calling for the assassination of a U.S. senator. So I went back to figure out the context. Here it is. Let's take a look.
Are people who are covered by Medicaid now going to potentially lose Medicaid coverage as a result of this?
No, look, the White House has made a commitment. The president said over and over and over, we're not going to touch Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. We've made the same commitment. Now, that said, what we are going to do is go into those programs and carve out the fraud, waste, and abuse and find efficiencies. Couple of examples. You know, there's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid, just in fraud alone. No.
That fraud is not coming from individuals. It's coming from providers. They're not tackling providers. They're not actually going after like false billing. They are trying to cut recipients. If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. The reason why I'm saying if you cared about Medicare or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott is because, and not make him a prominent part of the Republican Party, is because he to this day is still known as committing the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history. They want to cut SNAP. They want to cut Medicaid. They want to cut the funding of Medicaid. They want to make it harder for people to receive Medicaid. They don't want to actually go after medical providers or the insurance companies or the nursing homes that are lining their pockets with major donations. Those are the people who actually engage in the fraud. It's not your uncle that's like lying about their condition and stealing money from the government by, you know, going to the doctor or whatever. Okay, so obviously I shouldn't have used hyperbolic language, and there's
well, there you go. So he's claiming he used hyperbolic language. I think we've come to the
definitely stealing money from the government by, you know, going to the doctor or whatever. Okay, so obviously I shouldn't have used hyperbolic language, and there's definitely some ownership that I must take. Some apologies there. I should not have said Mike Johnson should kill Rick Scott. I should have simply said Mike Johnson should punish Rick Scott, perhaps.
Yes. That would be nice. You know what, Hasan, I'm going to give it to you. At least you're apologizing. You know, but now you've fallen trap into the Elon Musk trap. You claim that Elon Musk is a Nazi. Are you willing to retract that statement now that you've done a similar mistake?
With the, maximum punishment, whatever that would be, for defrauding Medicare and Medicaid. for over $1.7 billion. Now let's talk about the things that he did in this process, because Rick Scott co-founded the Columbia Hospital Corporation, which later merged to a corporation known as Columbia/HCA, which eventually became the nation's largest for-profit healthcare company. Rick Scott, who of course also looks like Voldemort, did a lot of things. The company defrauded Medicare.
To be fair, he doesn't really look like Voldemort, to be honest. I think that's a stretch.
Medicaid, and other federal programs. The U.S. Department of Justice won 14 felony convictions against the company, which was fined $1.7 billion in what was at the time the largest healthcare fraud settlement in United States history.
HCA was defrauding the government.
HCA admitted to things like submitting inflated bills and exaggerating diagnoses to increase Medicare reimbursements.
According to federal investigators, the hospital company systematically defrauded Medicare, Medicaid, and other federal healthcare programs while paying kickbacks to its physicians. Scott, of course, denied any wrongdoing.
Scott pled the fifth 75 times to avoid jail for Medicare fraud.
He didn't go to jail over this. He didn't even get any punishments over this. And Scott's resignation certainly was fantastic. For his pockets, he walked away with $10 million in severance pay, a 5-year consulting contract, and $300 million in stock and options. He is now the wealthiest member of the United States Senate. Rick Scott also in the past apologized, took ownership seemingly over his actions, but since then, in his endless interest in gutting all of these social safety nets so the American poor suffer more, Rick Scott has actually seemingly turned around and thinks that this was political prosecution, pure political prosecution against him.
No, I'm fed up. I watched what happened to me and my company. I've watched what's happened. I've talked to business people over the years, what's happened to them when you have political persecution.
What I was simply trying to say is Republicans don't care about the actual fraud that takes place in terms of government entitlements programs, in terms of government expenditure, because if they did, they obviously would punish Rick Scott. Rick Scott would not be a prominent fixture of the Republican Party. Rick Scott, who was elected as the governor of Florida after he committed the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history at the time.
$73 million. That's the amount that we know about so far that Scott and the Republican Party spent on TV advertising.
Rick Scott, who then went on to become the Florida senator.
On Sunday, a manual recount confirmed Republican Governor Rick Scott's victory over the incumbent Democrat Bill Nelson.
Once again, after doing insane amounts of Medicare fraud.
Elon Musk posted on X his support for Florida Senator Rick Scott for Senate Majority Leader.
This was simply the point. But of course, Republicans want to avoid this point. Asmongold, for those of you who don't know, is a right-wing political commentator. He does have some...
Here we go. Right-wing political commentator, Asmongold.
Some centrist opinions every now and then. I believe he himself actually is a big advocate for healthcare, likes Bernie Sanders, but spends most of his time simply sitting around and reacting to Donald Trump. He is now officially, by my...
Oh my god, Hasan is so butthurt about Asmongold having bigger numbers than him. You can just tell he's oozing jealousy.
My estimations, a larger right-wing political commentator than even the likes of Ben Shapiro. Very successful in this field. His videos reacting to Donald Trump get millions of views, more so than the Daily Wire could ever dream of. Asmongold also is the largest political content creator on Twitch in general. He's the largest political streamer now. He's double my size. He's always been double my size, but he's now double my size when it comes to political commentary as well. So let's see what the largest free speech defender had to say. He actually voluntarily brings this up in a YouTube video called "What the Fuck is Twitch Doing?" The YouTube video is from 2 days ago with 1 million views. The first 13 minutes of it is just reacting to the latest Ethan Klein video, who is falsely smearing me as someone who doesn't care about Israeli civilians or whatever, which is obviously incorrect, but we'll get to that perhaps down the line. He packaged that up with the Libs of TikTok video to call for my banning.
Let me see if I can find it.
I gotta say one thing. I do enjoy Hasan, Asmongold, and all these people at least standing by their laurels and not capitulating at all these points. I prefer these guys be strong on their points, even if they're wrong. Either side is wrong, because it's at least these are men discussing ideas, even though Hasan's ideas are questionable, and sometimes Asmon's are. At least they're holding up and they're fighting. They're not just like capitulating at every point and like saying sorry. I hate the whole apologist stuff. We're over it
here. Like I do, as I said, I do try to maintain a degree of neutrality with a lot of this stuff, and I try not to go too like super hard on it. I'll link you guys the video real quick before I get into it. And
he's linking the Ethan Klein video to his audience because, you know, to show support.
Yeah, there's the video. It's the Ethan video.
God, he's so butthurt about that.
Perhaps this is the reason why Ethan Klein doesn't talk about Asmongold and his apologia for certain regimes of the past. You know, Ethan, who really cares about anti-Semitism, of course. That's why he constantly comes after me, someone he knows has a long track record, alongside him at times, attacking anti-Semites and explaining to people what famous dog whistles are and things of that nature. But that'll be for a different day.
People are so ideologically captured, it's sad. I think a lot of people are. I saw this the other day, actually this morning. Where is it here? Here we go.
Hey, Dan Clancy. Time to wish Hasan another happy birthday song, you hack fuck. Anyone else will get permabanned on Twitch for this. This is beyond the pale. This is enticing your audience to kill a sitting senator. Don't people go to jail for this? This is not me enticing my audience to kill a sitting U.S. senator. That is ridiculous.
Then you have to be okay with saying that Elon Musk wasn't trying to do a Nazi salute. I mean, you both made mistakes, right? You both made symbolistic actions that can be determined to be something else. Yours was literally, kill. You said kill. Elon's was a point, a heart thing, whatever. You're both in the same boat now. You both made the same mistakes. Please acknowledge that. At least mention it, please. I'm hoping you mention it at least once in your video.
Everybody knows that that is ridiculous. The people that are complaining about this know that that is ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous because I've been at the other end of what it's like to come against the woke, and these people are malicious, they're malevolent, they're unhinged. They will say the most ridiculous stuff. I'm not going to say this over this video to try and hurt you. So no, what you did, Hasan, was wrong. You used the word. I mean, it's not wrong technically. I mean, it's wrong in the sense where you can break T's and C's, and you shouldn't have used those words in that moment. There are better words to use. Let's say that there are better words to use in that moment. So you're not wrong, but there are better words to use in that moment. But you are now facing the consequences of using a word that could have been a better word to use, like you mentioned.
But I'm glad that I was able to show you the context, the full context of what I was talking about. If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott, okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him a prominent part of the Republican Party.
That is crazy. That is nuts. And I've said before, there's a statute of limitations, but apparently this was yesterday. Yeah, this happened yesterday even. Oh my God. How's that not against the TOS? It is. And it is an open call to violence. And I would challenge anybody who thinks that it's not an open call to violence to say that exact thing about Donald Trump, and then tell me if Secret Service shows up at your house or not. Really? It's very obviously a call to violence.
Good point. And let's see what Hasan says now. I'm interested, actually.
And Twitch doesn't do anything? Well, I don't know if they've really seen it or anybody's reported it or anything like that.
I think Asmongold is covering this because he wants Twitch to see it. He's done this a couple times in the past couple of weeks. I understand. We are ideologically butting heads on Twitch. Asmongold and I disagree vehemently on a lot of issues, all the way from the history of Nazi Germany down to the fact that immigrants are not actually contributing to the American crime rates in the way that the Republican administration presents it. They're not destroying our culture in the way that Asmongold approaches the subject matter. There's plenty of disagreements there, and I think that he's doing this deliberately, I will say, in an effort to, shit stir a little bit and try to get me banned, which worked.
The clip's too short. Maybe it's out of context.
Okay, so now Hasan is blaming Asmongold for his ban, not his own actions. Not your own poor choice of words, but it's Asmongold's fault, Hasan, that you got banned. Interesting. If you're not willing to look inward, Hasan, you're not looking anywhere, mate.
Context? I hope so. I definitely do. Hopefully it's out of context. How are you gonna...
Now, once he said this, does Asmongold go back and seek out the context? No, he doesn't. Instead, he follows through, basically packaging this as a Hasan is a radical who must be banned. It's a joke, Lamau, he responds to.
To be fair on Asmon, no, even if you look at the context, it's still like poor choice of words, Hasan. Like, you can't justify the poor choice of words. Even the context still doesn't make it correct. It is still a poor choice of word. You should have used different words in that moment if you wanted to not face bans and incite potential violence.
Would you tell that joke about Donald Trump?
I think people would tell way crazier jokes about Donald Trump, and people have told way crazier jokes about Donald Trump.
That's fair, to be honest. People did say, I wish that bullet never missed and stuff a lot on the internet. I see it all the time on my platform. So yeah, Hasan has a point there. But these are just random people. Hasan is a guy with a huge following, so it's a bit different.
My statement was hyperbolic. That much is obviously clear. But the intention of it was not a call to violence directly against a sitting senator, but instead was to show the hypocrisy of the Republican Party in terms of how little they truly care about Medicare and Medicaid fraud, because that happens at the point of the provider and not necessarily in the point of the recipients. They want to cut Medicare and Medicaid for the recipients to the tune of $800 billion. And in order to justify that, they will do everything in their power to lie and claim that it's actually your grandparents that are stealing from Medicare and not people like Rick Scott. Because people like Rick Scott either fund the Republican Party and oftentimes the Democratic Party as well, or they sometimes run for office as Republicans.
Rick Scott has won re-election to the United States Senate. Here are the numbers.
That's the point. Now, should the likes of Asmongold seek out further context? I think yes. I think when you have millions of people watching your videos, it would be nice to at least inform them of what the true context is. And now that this context exists...
But you didn't seek out context for Elon Musk's actions with the Nazi salute thing. You just jumped on him that he's a Nazi and then made it very clear to the audience that he's a Nazi, which is obviously inciting more violence. So it's not the first time, Hasan, you're inciting violence towards a person. By claiming that Elon Musk is a Nazi, you're inciting the anti-fascist party to produce violence against Elon Musk. You are a person who is a living fallacy in this moment, and you're doing, it's not just this moment, you've done it on many, many different accounts. So I really don't know where you can go from this, man. Like, you just need to cop it, bro. You made a mistake.
Will Asmongold watch this video? Will he go back and say, hey, my bad? Maybe. I'll be honest. Perhaps he will do that.
And now, it's clear that all you want is Asmongold to watch your video so you can get some more views. You literally want Asmongold's audience to leverage you. You want them to join your side.
We shall see.
Donald Trump didn't commit Medicare fraud, but yes, if he did, then yes. Okay, so then no.
He then followed...
See, if I was Asmongold right now, I wouldn't even react to this. I would ignore it, but who knows? Maybe Asmongold will. Who knows? I'm curious to see.
Follows up with another tweet of mine. This isn't Hasan's only first foray into political violence. This was the weapon used to assassinate Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Archive link and reply to his now deleted post. Well, I didn't delete it. Twitter forced me to delete this.
But I'll tell you this, it's not the first time. This is the second time. No joke. Yes, neither of these, by the way, have resulted in any sort of action from Twitch at all. You ready?
He's right, son, as well. Like, you can't be posting this stuff. I mean, you can, but there's consequences. We didn't get any consequences with this. They just delete it. But it's not looking good, Hasan. It's not looking good, my friend.
Your Reddit advocated for killing too. Sorry for spam. Yeah, but here's the difference, right? When did my Reddit advocate for killing people? When did this happen? And also, when did I advocate for it?
He also then, to further push the narrative that I am a radical, a scary radical who advocates for violence, he shows this tweet briefly, my old tweet that Twitter actually forced me to ban, which is a tweet where I quote retweeted sitting U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, who was advocating to kill peaceful pro-Palestinian demonstrators all the way from April 16th, 2024, almost an entire year ago, where I famously quote retweeted the doohickey, or I guess a meme of a doohickey that was responsible for the assassination of Shinzo Abe. Now, of course, this wasn't serious. I fib. I did this in response to a sitting U.S. senator who had previously in the New York Times written about executing Black Lives Matter protesters by using the military. And this time around, April 15th, was encouraging people. I'm going to read you his words. Senator Tom Cotton said this: I encourage people who get stuck behind the pro-Hamas mobs blocking traffic. Take matters into your own hands to get them out of the way. It's time to put an end to this nonsense. This was, of course, a direct call to violence from a sitting senator, a direct call to violence against peaceful protesters engaging in an act of civil disobedience.
If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet criminals that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking.
So he then doubled down on it and said, we do things differently around these parts. I mean, he's advocating for a direct call for violence. I jokingly quote retweeted that statement with the doohickey. But of course, that was apparently a bridge too far as well for Asmongold. I'm sorry. I've offended Asmongold's sensibilities. Of course, no comments on Tom Cotton, a sitting U.S. senator, actively urging his constituents to go out and kill peaceful demonstrators who are, dare I say, peacefully demonstrating against a genocide. Well, make no mistake, it's most likely that Asmongold is simply responding to the things that he sees in his chat. Having said that, I wanted you guys to see the full context of the story. I was obviously not.
I'm still not convinced by your full context. Your full context still is very shaky. And I don't know if my audience agrees, but what do you guys think of chat in the comments section? Do you think Hasan's full context makes it any better? I really think Hasan here has made a huge mistake in word choice. There's better words to use. I don't care. Look, at the end of the day, I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. Like, you say whatever you want, but yeah, you used the wrong word, my friend. You literally did, and I'm doubling down that. And you being all salty to Asmongold's not helping you. You just look like someone who's really butthurt about Asmongold's success.
Not asking for people to kill Rick Scott. I think that would be ridiculous. I think that justice should be served, however, and justice has not been served against Rick Scott in this case. Justice rarely ever gets served against rich people who exploit others, against rich people who defraud the federal government. You get a $10 million care package with $300 million in stock options for defrauding poor people that absolutely need this medical care. And then Republicans will turn around and act like the...
So actually kind of, I don't know if it's, maybe I need to do more research, but on this point, I agree with Hasan, but Hasan's just using this as an art to justify why he used the word kill. In essence,
real fraud is happening at the point of the recipients and not the point of the providers.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No one's for that. We've got to make sure we eliminate it. We have the algorithms now to do that. We have advanced technology to find it.
Thank God for Speaker Johnson.
That is my anger. That is my frustration. And every single person, not Asmongold, but every single Republican operative online, from Tim Pool to Libs of TikTok to many others, know that that is the reality. But they also want you to be distracted. They don't want you to realize that this is what the Republicans are doing. So I urge all liberals, progressives, or even people who are worried about their grandparents or their parents losing their health care, people who might be worried about their children no longer being able to receive Medicaid, to focus on who the vectors of harm truly are, what they're actually doing, instead of constantly engaging in petty squabbles. I shouldn't have used the term kill. I should have used either the term capital punishment or just punishment in general. But once again, I've let you down. I've used
He said capital punishment, so he still saying the guy needed to die. See, Hasan, you literally just then said it. He still needs to die. You're not actually sorry for using the word kill. Sure, I agree. I mean, I don't agree, but sure, let's just agree that this guy did a horrible thing. You still can't, it's still not your, it's still not your job to go around saying, oh, you should kill him. Capital punishment is death. You're still inciting his death. You're still manifesting or desiring his death.
Hyperbolic language, and that hyperbolic language...
You just did it again.
...has brought trouble my way. As one of the largest progressive, leftist, political content creators online in what feels like is a sea of reactionary sentiment, I am promising you that I will try to use more deliberate and more careful language going forward. Having said that, of course, in an 8 to 10 hour broadcast when I am constantly in a contentious
Stop justifying it.
battle with members of the chat, because there's always free flow conversation and a lot of back and forth going on in the community, there will probably be some moments that are...
Just own your words. Stop justifying. Own your words. You said the wrong thing. Big deal. All right? Stop saying, oh, I'm tired. You just said the wrong words in your opinion. Look, I don't really care, to be honest, but stop crying like a big baby.
Flippable. But I will try to minimize them to the best of my ability.
Good luck.
On that note, I love you all, and I will see you when I'm unbanned.
Well, how long is Hasan Piker's ban gonna last? That's the question. How long do you guys think? I want to hear in the comment section. But yeah, look, to me, when I watched that video, I saw he basically he's a sore baby. Hasan's a big sore baby. He's upset with Asmongold's success. He didn't take any real responsibility. He then doubled down on the call to violence by using capital punishment, whatever. Like, it's still a call to his death. And he didn't take really any responsibility. He didn't say, oh, look, this is what happened to Elon Musk, because he did the exact same thing to Elon Musk and then called him a Nazi. Hasan, I'm sorry to say, mate, but this is a 2 out of 10 apology. This is a 2 out of 10... Yeah, this is a 2 out of 10 apology video. I'm sorry. Anyways, thanks, guys.